Looking at this piece right here, this antenna support, this looks very strange in that we've got several pieces that have kind of T extrusions out of them. So if you notice here, this particular part has a panel or a top part going across. Here, let me press Control Spacebar. So we've got this top panel going across, and then we've got these extrusions out of the center of it here. And that's kind of a no-no in 3D modeling, is having these T-shapes in your models. That's one way to get those internal faces that we've seen before. And let me just show you what I mean real quick. If I hide all of this, let me move these to the vehicle main now. M vehicle main, there we go. If I create a polygon plane, and then I add an edge to it, say like this, and then I take this edge right here and I extrude it down in the Z, that's a T pattern, and that's not always advisable. You can get into some problems with this, with internal faces, and also with smoothing problems as well. And also, you don't want to have this be a part of a mesh that you're deforming, like a character, say on their elbows or their knees. So this kind of pattern can be problematic. And those are the red flags that go off when I see something like this. So let's take a look and see how we might go about this. I think what I'll do is just build it in several pieces and then kind of put it together, so we're not actually extruding out of a T pattern in this way. Because one of the strategies that we've seen is to create polygon planes and then add a solidify modifier, and for this that might not work. So let's go back and take a look at where we should put these. So I think what I'll do first is kind of find where it needs to be here. And actually these two look a little bit different. They don't look exactly the same. You can see here and here. So I think we may have a little leeway in how we create this. I'm going to move the cursor to this point right here. And then I'm going to press Shift A and create a cube. I'll take the size down to say 0.1. And there it is. And then I'll just kind of scale in the Z until we get it about the right size, maybe scale in the Y, something like this. And then maybe I'll tumble around and make sure that it's in the right place. Let's go ahead and pull it out a bit, say like this. Now, instead of having the top and this cube all as one piece, extruding one out of the other, I'm going to build it in probably 3 or 4 different pieces. To get that hollowness in the cube here, I'm going to go ahead and delete faces on the top and the bottom. And then what I can do is use a Boolean to create these holes here. So let's go ahead and I'll maybe create another cube right here. And I'll pull it out. And let's scale it in the X here. And I'm going to bring this down so it's going to be our cutter, like this. So this is going to be our cutting object through our main object here. And I'll also grab these edges right here and give them a bevel. You can see we've got some curved edges there. Of course, I need to apply the scale. And then I'll go back and hit Control B. And let's do something about like that. There we go. So in addition, I'll go ahead and apply the scale for the main object. And for this main object, let's go ahead and create a Boolean modifier. And then we'll click on the eyedropper and select that cube number 44, it looks like, at least for mine. And we have the difference operation selected, and then I'll click Apply. Now let's take this and let's spin it in the Z-axis, RZ90, like that, and let's do it again. So select that main object, add a Boolean modifier, select the cutting object, and hit apply. Now let's take a look at this. All right, so that's what we have there. It's kind of ugly, it's true, but if we select the object and tab into edit mode, that should all be pretty well selected there. We can hit X and delete faces there, and it looks like we've just got a couple more here that we need to get rid of. Delete faces, and let's delete faces here. And we've got this strange thing right here. Look at that. We need to get rid of that. Let's delete edges. And looks like we have a couple of faces left over in here. So the Boolean wasn't really clean. I probably could have made that a little bit smaller so it would be a little bit cleaner. But I think that's pretty good. Now I probably need to go ahead and add a solidify modifier to this. Let's do that. Even thickness, and I'll click and drag in the thickness field and we'll bring that down about like that. All right, so we have that piece now. I haven't gotten rid of this yet because I feel like it might be useful one more time. I'm going to bring it up here just out of the way. Now what let's do is work on this part here. And I feel like this is just a thin piece. It's hard to see. Well, we can see it here, I guess, right there. And it's got two Booleans in it, a circular and this kind of squarish oval one. That's why I kept this piece here. So let's go ahead and create another cube, Shift-A cube, and I'll move this over here. And I want to make it pretty thin. I'll scale it in the X with S and X and make it pretty thin like this. And I'll kind of put it in place here. I feel like it needs to be just barely on this part of the vehicle like this. And let's go back over here. Now let's take this and put it up here, and I'll tab into edit mode and maybe go to vertex select, and let's border select all of these and move these down to here. And maybe we could take these and move these back to here. And then we could switch to face select and then extrude out like this. Maybe bring this down to that corner right here. And bring these up like this. Then we could take this face again, extrude out. Maybe take these points and move them up to this corner. Maybe take these points and just hit G and move them down to here. Just a basic shape like that. All right, now before we do anything with this, I feel like we ought to go ahead and extrude out to get this piece here. So instead of using this as our piece to extrude down, we have a solidify modifier on this. And even if I applied this, I'll just hit apply. This face here has angled edges. So if we extruded this down for this part, it might look a little odd. But if we take this and maybe move this over, and as you can see, I'm just placing pieces instead of trying to extrude one from another. Let's go ahead now and insert an edge loop and move it up here. And insert an edge loop and move it over here. And now if we take this face right here, now we should be able to extrude that out. So I'll hit E and just pull that straight out to here. And then take this edge right down here and just move it back in like this. There we go. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of building it in multiple pieces. And frankly, a lot of these parts, when they're manufactured in the factory, are multiple parts welded together. So we don't always have to assume we have to make a piece like this all one unit. All right, so now let's think about how we want to use Booleans on this particular piece. Let's see what we have here. We've got a circular cut and a ovalish, squarish cut. And this is the one that I saved that other piece for. Here it is. So let me turn this in the z-axis, RZ90. And if I move this down here, let's kind of scale it up. And what I may be able to do is grab these here and scale them in the Z, like this. And then let's take this whole thing and turn it and kind of put it in here like this. I think that's generally the kind of thing we want. Yeah, let's give that a try. So I'll select this one here. I'm going to go ahead and apply the scale. And I'll add a Boolean to it. And then I'll select this cutter object. And I'll hit apply. And let's take a look at that. All right. I think that's pretty good. And then let's do that again for that circular piece. I can go ahead and delete this one now. And maybe if I create a cylinder, take the sides down to maybe 16. I'll take it down to 0.1 and 0.2 again. Let's scale it down and scale it in the Z. I'll turn it in the Y-axis, RY90. And let's go to wireframe and let's place this in here. So I think about like that. All right, so now let's go back here, select our main object, add a Boolean again, select the new cutter object, and click apply. How'd we do? Yeah, pretty good. All right, so I think we're getting there. While we're here, before we go to the next video, let's go ahead and bevel this corner right here. Let's just do that. Control B, and I'll pull that out like that. There we go. I think that helps. Yeah. So in the next video, what let's do is work on creating a Boolean for this piece, as well as creating this over here. Now, as I said, in different images, this looks a little different. So I think we have some leeway to create this maybe in whatever way would be most efficient for us. So we'll create the top and then this piece in the next video.